Alright, so today we're going to talk about multiplying complex numbers. So again, just to kind of reiterate, I is the imaginary number, which is the square root of a negative 1. Because you can't actually find the square root of a negative number, right? So we call it I, or imaginary. But if I were to square it, I squared, that would be two square roots multiplying with each other. The square roots will cancel out and you just get negative 1. Okay? That's going to be an important piece when we talk about multiplying complex numbers. So as we go through these, just like multiplying a polynomial, then if you ever get I squared, instead of writing I squared, you end up writing negative 1 there. Okay? Or negative 1 multiplying whatever is there. So let's look at an example. So this first one is just a distributive one. There's no binomial there. So I would distribute the 5i. Right? Yeah, I think so. 5i to everything in here. And then multiply everything and whatever I get there by 8. And they're technically both multiplying. So 5i, and then I would think I'd have to, let's just multiply the 8 first. So 45 or 40i distributing to everything in there. So if I do that, 40i times negative 3, or 40 times negative 3, is negative 120. Negative 120i. Negative 120i. And then 40 times 5 is 200. But it would become a negative. So it would be 200i squared. Well, let's write it. Plus 200i squared, which is 200 times negative 1. So negative 200. So this is going to become negative 200 and then minus 120i. Now with complex numbers, I know with the variables usually put those in front, right? The imaginary numbers usually write the I last. So it's usually the real number and then the imaginary number is the proper order of doing it. Okay? Let's look at another example. Let's look at this one. So this one is a binomial kind of thing. So you're going to distribute to each number in the parentheses here. So 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. 5 times negative 5i is negative 25i. Negative 6i times negative 1 is positive 6i. And then negative 6 times negative 5 is positive 30i squared, which is just going to become negative 30, right? So let's combine these, rewrite that. So I have negative 5, negative 25, and 6 is going to become negative 19i. And then I have minus 30. Combine those, I would have negative 35 minus 19i. And that would be my final answer. Okay? Not too tough, right? Let's look at another one. Let's come down here. Do one of our middle ones. So again, distributes to both numbers like that. And as we go, negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Negative 3 times 3 is negative 9i. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3i. Negative 3i times 3i is negative 9i squared. So that's going to become positive 9. So I'll rewrite it. So negative 3 minus 9 would be negative 12i. And then plus 9 Combine those, I'm going to get 6 minus 12i. That would be your answer. Okay? So again, not too tough. Key thing there is just remember the I squareds become a negative 1. So if it was a negative number in front, it becomes positive. If it's a positive number, it becomes a negative. And other than that, this is pretty easy stuff.